Well, welcome, everybody. My name is Keith Davidson with RCJ Media Company. It's my pleasure to be here today introducing some gentlemen to you who you may know by the Security Shift podcast. You may have seen them on LinkedIn. You may have seen them on YouTube, maybe at various security conventions around the country. But who are they really? So my first guest today is Mr. Daniel Schneider. A little background on Daniel. He spent his career working at the intersection of leadership and prevention across corporate environments, schools, healthcare organizations, houses of worship, and nonprofits. He's a veteran of the Israel Defense Forces, a certified protection professional, and the founder of Strategic Security Advisors, LLC. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good
Finally.
Yeah.
It's a two-hour drive, but we're here.
Well, hey, it all pays off in the end, so it's a good thing. So I thought it'd be great today, to get your audience and other audiences out there to get to know you guys a little bit more on a personal level, right?
Absolutely.
From what they've seen of you so far, I figured it'd be good to learn a little bit about your history.
Absolutely.
So, I guess I'll start with the first obvious question, right? Where did you grow up?
A place that nobody hears about in the news lately at all. A little place called Israel. I was born and raised there. Around 1968, the last 2 days of that year, I decided I'm not waiting for 69 for whatever reason, and I went out. And grew up in Israel, did the military there for 3 years, and left to never look back. And then, decided to travel the world for about a year. After that, decided that I'm just going to go do something that has no relationship to guns, gates, dogs, or anything remotely close to that. And I got myself a hospitality degree.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how I made it up to here, to this country.
That's very cool. Hospitality is always a good industry to start out in, I think, It's usually gotta work
Then you
with
know
people.
which industry you don't want to be in.
Right. Exactly. Well, coming from Israel, over here in the States, we kind of know what our childhoods were like. I would imagine it's probably very different growing up in Israel. So what was your childhood like?
Very interesting. Looking back, growing up there, you don't know any difference because it that's how you grew up, and this is how that's the normal life. But went to kindergarten like everybody else. My dad was a military guy, so he was in the military till he was about 47. So continued, his military career. We moved a lot because of that. And then, when school started after kindergarten, school started for me first grade, and I had ADHD. So at that time, in that age, they didn't call it ADHD. They called it the lazy kid or the stupid kid or whatever. So I spent the first 2 years of my life on the other side of the door.
Okay.
And kind of was very observant of what's going on around me. Wasn't really aware of why until looking back. My father got a job as the security director for the education system in our town.
Okay.
So drills to look for suspicious packages and commercials on TV that were about suspicious packages, suspicious individuals, or suspicious acts, or what could be dangerous were a very common thing.
Right.
Grew up with it all the time. So that's kind of like where I got my keen sense of survival or a situational awareness. And again, that's looking back. Living there, did not know the difference.
Right.
I was like, everybody's watching the same program, so that's great. And since I didn't go to school because they left me out, I was watching a lot of educational TV, and so English was not my first language, but I was able to pick up on accents and be able to get to that level of proficiency in English very early. We start learning English from third grade on in Israel. So by the time I got to, graduate from high school, my English was pretty impressive for an Israeli.
Yeah.
If you want me to sound like one, I can, but I really didn't need to. It was something that I picked up on languages. I picked up on accents very easily. Kind of looking back to how, it was shaping me even to what I'm doing today. My dad used to take loaves of bread on Sunday morning, cut the middle of it out, take the top off, cut the middle out, take everything out, put fake pipe bombs in there, close them, put them in a brown paper bags, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then go hide them in schools.
Hmm.
And that was to check that everybody is paying attention and know the protocol, how to alert law enforcement of a suspicious package.
Wow. Wow.
Again,
Impressive.
this will never happen in the U.S. I'm well aware of that, but this is where things came from. Not me even being aware of it as having those sense of awareness of what's going on around me. So that's kind of like the childhood. At 18, I was drafted to the military. Nobody asked me.
They just drafted.
They just drafted. That's part of the process. Did my 3 years, and that was it.
Well, I thought you were going to give me a recipe for breakfast or something when you told me you cut out the middle of the bread, and I was waiting for you to drop some egg in there, and I wasn't sure.
My favorite is the bread, and inside there's the French onion soup, man.
Oh, there you go.
That's it.
Yeah. So, I always kind of talk about how I think here in the U.S. we take it for granted, right? How we grow up, how we, who influences us as we're growing up, even the type of lifestyle we live, because it's obviously very different from what you grew up with. But, given your situation, would you say that it made you more naturally competitive as a person? How you grew up and how you were shaped? I mean,
Israelis in general are people who are more competitive. There's a lot of what they call exit companies, which they're built in Israel and then they exit Israel and they're sold in millions, Ways and a few other ones that are, come to mind. And the reason that happens is it's almost like a pressure cooker. I took my wife to Israel in 2023, May of 2023. And when we came back, she looked at me and she says, "Now I understand you a lot better." And I said, "In what way?" She goes, "Your guys are nuts." It's a pressure cooker. And I said, "Well, I didn't know that when I was there."
Right.
I understand that coming back. My mom used to have a favorite joke. Every time I used to come every year to visit, she would tell me, "Oh, the first week you're here, you drive like an American. The second week you drive here, you drive like an Israeli." And it never made a whole lot of sense. But after looking back at everything, yeah, you get back to your normal habits. Yep. And you reflect whatever's around you. So yeah, there's a difference between living under that pressure cooker. And once you're, it's a very small country. Everybody goes to college. Everybody goes to, universities. Everybody's like encouraged to go and do more. And you also lose a lot of time because you have 2 to 3 years of military in between. So by the time you're out, you're looked upon, as a little bit behind the time because you have that military experience that nobody has,
right,
and nobody wants to have in the real world. And you start later. You start going to college later. For us, it's after the military. So you're 21 when you go to college or university.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-year track and you need to finish everything. So it's different. It's a pressure cooker by the time you get out.
Right. How would you say that attributed to your success here in the States, growing up the way you did? I mean,
so it didn't.
Okay. Well, it's a fair question, right? I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Growing up there, having been exposed to what I was exposed to, having lost my dad when I was 14, brought a lot of anger and a lot of resentment. Mm-hmm. In general, I don't like people at all, but then I love them, just as much.
Right.
And that kind of a back, push and pull created a lot of issues. So I struggled for the first 40 years of my life. I would say even 45.
Okay.
After the second divorce, I noticed the guy in the mirror was the common denominator. So now what? So what I discovered through growing up and going through some things and challenges in life is that if you blame everybody else for what's happening to you, then you have to wait for them to fix it.
Good point. That's a good
If
point.
you take ownership of what happens to you, you can fix it today.
Yeah.
That was the hardest decision I've ever made, because now I had to admit that everything I knew about myself was wrong.
That's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough to do.
So that kind of started the shift, and it's a lot of hours, many hours, thousands of hours of brainwashing, binaural beats and positive messages and self-help books and all these other things, just to get myself to the point where I'm okay with who I am, look in the mirror again and being able to say, I love you for just the way you are. And you're not perfect,
Right.
but you're okay.
Right.
Um,
Nobody's
and then
perfect.
and then it start from there, and then build myself. So that's kind of like where, that growing up was more of a disadvantage in the beginning, but once I had the better mindset, all of that upbringing was an advantage.
Right.
I was
right.
able to see certain things. I was able to get patterns a lot faster than most people. I was able to see opportunities a lot faster. I was able to take things a lot faster than most other people around and look at things at a different perspective, but also have the maturity to understand that I need to bring it to the table in a different way.
Right.
The Israeli way is, this is it, you need to listen to me. Not really good in business or corporate America.
Right.
Even though my idea is great, I know that when you're talking to people, it's different. So that's kind of like where the, life began to change when I actually took ownership and accountability to my life and my decisions.
I think a lot of people can learn that lesson, to be honest with you. I mean, who'd you say, growing up, who'd you say some of your biggest influences are?
My mom is the most, biggest influence in general. That woman was a business owner in the 70s in Israel, where women did not own businesses.
Right. Right.
She owned a business. She owned something like a Kinko's back in the day. And they were very successful. So she's the one that, I looked up to. Obviously, Dad was, a military man, so I always wanted to be, in the military and be,
right.
the big guy. I have a lot of my father's traits. Not all are good. But again, that's the process of understanding who you are and being able to change what needs to be changed. But it's to the point where that was a major force to kind of look up to, because the presence of that man was felt everywhere
Right.
he walked in. It was a good player.
Yeah. Yeah. You knew he was there.
Yeah.
You knew he was in the room.
Yeah. If you didn't, you made sure you did.
You made sure you did. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So tell me about the industry in general. Like what drove you to really be passionate about the security industry?
So like I said, I started with hotel restaurant management and got my degree in hotel restaurant management. Got my bachelor's at Johnson & Wales University in Rhode Island, and left the college life and got a good job with the Hilton Corporation in New Jersey. Worked for a 5 diamond property down there and enjoyed the life. But then when I moved back, kind of when I started seeing that if you want to advance, you have to move from one hotel, one property to another,
Right.
and usually also across the country and sometimes across the world to get the next position. I was in a relationship. I thought I wanted a family and things of that nature. So it was like those two don't mix very well. So I did pretty much anything and everything that I could. I owned a limousine service. I owned a concierge service. I kind of tried to bring things together, and there was a lot of great experiences. I was in the hotel business when 9/11 happened, and due to 9/11, I started getting a lot more involved with safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
So during 9/11, I was a general manager for a local hotel and we were about 35 miles away from New York City, right on Route 80 from Ohio all the way to the city.
The city.
And we were sold out 10 minutes after the first tower went down.
Wow. Wow.
And the next few days, all I did was on my little ham radio. I wasn't working as a GM anymore. I was with my ham radio and my phone in my office, getting messages from the city, welfare messages from the city, calling these people, their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers, and then telling them that I've spoke to their, relative and they're okay. They just don't have any communication. So once that was over, I left the hotel industry completely and kind of started working with volunteer organizations like the Office of Emergency Management in Parsippany, New Jersey. I volunteered for the Frisco, Texas Citizens on Patrol, and that kind of like where I kind of moved into. And then we moved from Jersey to Texas in March of 2009. Right after 2008, there are no jobs. I have a degree in everything, but there are no jobs.
Yeah.
So I took the only thing that is available when the economy's bad. That was security.
Yeah.
So I went, put a suit and a tie on, and I went to the first security company advertisement that I saw, and it said apply in person. So I went in there and I applied in person. When I walked in, I was the only one wearing a suit and a tie. Everybody else was a white, shirts and flip-flops and shorts. So I never got the position for the security guard. I got the director of training that very next day. Instead of $8 an hour, I got $11 an hour.
There you go.
So
wear that suit.
Yeah, wear that suit. So impression does make a difference. Yeah. I was there for about 9 to 10 months. Got all promoted to the second guy in the company within that time. I was the director of personnel. They didn't have human resources. It was personnel. And, was doing all, the game of security. And then that company was changing their name. They're no longer business, so we can talk about them. But they changed their name every 6 months because they were doing things the wrong way. And DPS came, and inspected. So they changed the name and then dropped that name. And then every 6 months they would change back. And I figured that's not the right place for me because I like to do things the right way. So I started looking for something else, found another job. And through that company, I was put as the site manager for Metro PCS headquarters in Richardson, Texas. It was a fun job. It was being responsible for a data center. It was responsible for all their corporate offices. It was responsible for 11 guards, some armed, some aren't. And it was very interesting. And I was doing apparently a very good job. So the person that was responsible for the security department and the corporation decided that they want to bring me in. And then T-Mobile bought us. So for 2 months, I was kind of like lingering, got another job doing other things, putting data centers together, all the racks for the computers for a huge data center. And then my old boss called me up and said, hey, we moved to T-Mobile and I have a job for you. Would you be interested? And I was like, I don't know. How much does it pay? So he gives me the number and I'm like, it's about 6 times what I'm making right now. That's what I'm thinking for myself. And I'm saying, let me think about this. And about 20 seconds later, I said, yes. And I had about 3 weeks to move from Frisco, Texas, and move to Arizona, and started my first day in T-Mobile as Asset Protection Loss Prevention Investigations on Cinco de Mayo 2014.
Nice.
5/5/2014. And it was a great day. Again, challenging because it's my first time hobnobbing with all the corporate people who are sales. And I'm coming from the security mindset, which is a completely different mindset. So there was an adjustment period for me to understand what is my role as an asset protection. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of like where I got back into this full time. And it's been very rewarding ever since.
It is a rewarding industry, that's for sure. I started in the electronic security side back in 2007, and I've seen a huge growth from then till now. But I think one stigma with the electronic security side that I found throughout my career is, man guarding and electronic security, they're completely separate, right? So now we start getting into, more AI, more software driven, applications. What do you see in the near future in regards to physical security and electronic security? I see a culmination happening, right? I see we're going to work together eventually more so than we ever have.
We don't
It's
have a
not,
choice.
we don't have a choice,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Well, to
So,
kind of give you a little bit of background, just before I left, T-Mobile or Metro PCS paid for me to go to school, and I got my degree in cybersecurity just before we transitioned to T-Mobile. That was a very great experience and a very eye-opening experience for me because I was in electronics before. I used to build all the stuff as a kid, after school stuff. I was building pretty much anything with electronics, used to play with it all the time. I had the best soldering kit that you could find back in Israel back in the day. So I love that. This is, for me, it's amazing. I love tinkering with all that stuff. So that was a full circle because I had to learn the computers that became very prominent and prevalent in our world from the communication end of things and their security of it too. So it was very interesting to understand that part of it. So when I came to T-Mobile, I was able to bridge the gap for myself first and see where things are, together. When we were in Metro PCS and we had the data center, if we weren't doing our jobs, somebody would go in with a thumb drive and our entire data center would be crashing.
yeah.
We had a NOC right there as well, Network Operations Center. So we dealt with everything, with the human, with the computers, with all the vendors, with all these other things. So that's kind of like where I learned a lot, which kind of helped me get in my certified protection professional certification because I was a master of nothing, but I tinkered with everything.
With everything.
So I did a little bit of everything. So when I went to do that, it was very easy. But again, to your question, just recently the Security Shift podcast, which I'm a co-host with, covered the Southwest Security Conference. And that conference itself was the culmination of, hey, we can no longer do this as a separate isles or islands. We need to work this together. And the speaker is a good friend of mine, the keynote speaker, Dara Gibson, and she is the president of the Arizona InfraGuard. She's also a very good person when it comes to cybersecurity. So if anybody needs something like that, let me know. I'll hook you up. But the lady is so smart, and we needed her to send the message that one silo cannot work on their own. We need to make sure that we start working together. So to your point, with AI, with everything that physical security has, like badge readers, turnstiles, anything data related, like I don't know, cameras, it's all on the cyber side, all of it.
Yep.
I can't do anything from my side. So if I don't have that understanding of what is required, I might buy or purchase a new gadget that does not work well or play well with the existing stuff that we have.
Right.
So I have to bring that in. We don't have a choice anymore. It's coming. It's here. And if you're not on that bandwagon, you're too late.
Good advice. Right, because I agree with that 100%. So, tell people a little bit about the podcast.
So the podcast started with Bill and I ranting and raving over things that annoyed us in this industry. It's the good old boys. It's we do this the same way we did it all the time, and not that we're any young guys by any means, but we always challenge ourselves to be better, and that's part of growing up and owning who you are. I say when I teach concealed carry licenses, I say this, and it strikes most people with um, a very, it hits them very hard because I say that ego is the number one killer of men.
It's true.
Not heart attacks. Heart attacks come because of your ego. Trust me, had the biggest one. So I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you that ego is the thing that will kill you the fastest and will cause you to have more issues. So after ranting and raving for the longest time, it became apparent that we are hitting on topics and subjects that people are relating to and resonating with. And we decided, why not make it official and create something that people would listen to? And, we never thought about, going, YouTube. We never thought about going, live. We never thought about making it anything more than a podcast to help us get our content out. So people will come to us as a subject matter expert and say, okay, what do you know? How can I get your assistance and your expertise? And it turned to be a whole lot more than we ever bargained for. People asking questions, people coming to us. We got a lot of exposure for that. And we figured that could be a really, really good vehicle to bring and create the collaboration. To your point earlier with regards to, the cyber and physical, the old days of islands on their own doing everything by themselves are gone.
Yeah.
You cannot run a security company without having technology. And if you are, nice meeting you, you're gone. If you're doing things the same old, you're not willing to change, you will die faster than you think, because you need to collaborate. And the collaborate means I'm not afraid you're going to steal my business. I'm not afraid you're going to steal my client. It doesn't matter. Bill can do so much more for my business. I'm a small niche, and his access to people. The guy likes to talk to everybody. I'm a little more an introvert.
Mhm.
I know it doesn't look like it, but I am. One-on-one, not good. I can talk to everybody in the stadium, not a problem. One-on-one, I'm a little not comfortable with that. But just hanging around with the right people, being around Bill, seeing how he talks to people, seeing how he interacts, helped me get out of my shell and be able to become more aware and then more comfortable speaking about what I do.
Okay.
And with collaboration of other people and trying to pitch what I was about to do after T-Mobile no longer needed my services, I learned that by just hanging around people, asking the right questions, and willing to listen, they will tell me where they need my help without me even asking. I don't need to pitch my business to anybody. I need to talk about what I do and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And that will sell itself.
Yep.
So the podcast started with just talking, and we're here to change the industry. If you're in the guard space and you're governed by a law enforcement agency, that's an oxymoron. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. You are a reactive force and reactive nature that's supposed to oversee a force that's supposed to see things and interject before they become a crisis, before we call you guys. So there's really a big gap in there, and we're trying to change that. There's also the stuff that Bill calls blended guarding, and that is here. Back 2 years ago, it was something we talked about. Now it's here. And again, if you're not on board, you're already gone. Better have an exit plan. It's here. You won't survive the next 6 months.
So, rumor has it you have a nickname. Would they refer to you as the prevention guy? From what I heard.
So I coined it myself because when I left T-Mobile, I was 55 years old at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm never going to find another job that pays me as much as I want to be paid.
Right.
And so what do I do now? So I said, I'm going to be a consultant like everybody else. And what am I consulting on? I'm going to be physical security. and it's about this big.
Yeah.
Now, try to talk about that or try even figure out what I'm selling and how I can help. That was a challenge in itself because, again, it's too wide, too big, too broad to be anything. So through kind of talking to people, collaborating, learning from Bill, learning from other people, it narrowed down itself to prevention because nobody's in that field. There's a few big names that are doing it. They're still not where I went with it. But the prevention portion of it is upstream from anything that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, every camera, every AI, every technology, anything that's out there, I don't care how much you call it predictive,
It's all reactive.
it's reactive. It happens after a threshold has occurred and nothing before. I don't care how good it is. It's not happening until something happens. And if we agree to that, you also agree to the fact that any reactive measure has collateral damage already built into it.
Yeah.
And if we listen to Scott Walker with his law enforcement zero topic, guess what? They're not coming. And at least they're not coming fast enough as you need them. So the issue is you don't have the response as fast as you do or as fast as you did, and you don't have any prevention. At what point do you think the courts will start looking at things and say, you have not been prepared and you have not diligently did what you're supposed to do, which means you're not liable for everything that's going on?
That's an interesting point. Never thought about that.
It's going to happen
Yeah.
because you can't bring more cops because nobody wants to be a cop anymore.
Right.
Pay them as much as you want. Until you start paying them a six-figure income, nobody's going to be a cop.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Not in this day and age.
I was volunteering for law enforcement all the time, never sworn, but I will never put the uniform on right now. Too old, too fat, and things have changed.
Mhm.
So
Dramatically.
yeah, so those are the things that are going to be an issue for that. So the prevention side doesn't cost a lot of money.
It's true.
Schools already have all the resources they need for prevention. Corporations, they have a whole department that's ready for prevention. Every employee should be doing prevention, which is going back to where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in Israel is a first preventer. Not my phrase. Stole that from Rick Shaw, the inventor of Awareness. But first preventers, not first responders. Huge difference. First preventers are everywhere. They're the ones in the mall. There's the ones in your job. There's the coworkers. There's all these people who are there before something happens. Your church, your pastor, your kid's minister. Everything is before something happens.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to wait for something to happen. We see, I think FBI says that over 70% of cases of active shooter or the like do have warning signs before anything happens. Well,
Yep.
Why is it that we're still missing them?
You see that all the time after the report comes out,
Correct.
right?
All
Days
the
leading up
time.
to the shooting, there's been mounds of evidence that we should have seen.
We knew about this.
Yeah.
He was weird. They were doing that. They were going to the range. They were buying, all this other stuff. I saw writing on the gun. There's so many things out there.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we're not, getting this prevented is because, like somebody asked me to say all the time, is if we don't collect the dots, we can't connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
And to connect the dots, it's not enough to collect it. You also need the right systems in place to connect the dots. But more importantly, you need leadership. Right now, there is nothing remotely close to prevention leadership. You ask who's responsible for prevention, the answer you're going to get is security director. Too late.
Yeah.
If it got to them, it's too late.
Too late.
Who is responsible for prevention? I need a CEO. I need a CFO. I need a C-level executive that's responsible for that culture. Because when somebody sees something, we're human. You got to think about the human behavior. If you go to your boss and, hey, you know what? I noticed Joey's not doing very well. He's not himself. He hasn't changed his clothes. He's smelly, and stuff like that, right? And if I'm your manager and I'm going to say, okay, what else can you tell me? Or I can say, well, let's wait till we have a little more information.
Right. Right.
What are you getting from me after I said that to you? Are you going to report anything else?
No,
Why not?
because it doesn't seem like you care.
Exactly. So the culture we have in all these corporations, schools, and everything else, it's not my business.
What's a
Not my
societal
monkeys.
thing too, isn't
It
it?
is a
I mean,
societal thing
yeah.
because we learned in this country not to stick our noses in
Mhm.
anybody else's business. Well, that needs to change. Not tattletaling, not being a Karen, turn it around. I care about you. If I see something that's wrong in your life, do I want to tattletale or do I want to make sure that you don't escalate?
Right.
Okay. It's the same thing. Not really. It all
No.
depends on how you do it. So when we go to houses of worship and we tell them, okay, you need this prevention stuff. Well, we don't want to make things worse before they're needed. I said, great, turn it around. Well, how can we do that? I said, okay, if Daniel comes in and say, hey, Joey is just being erratic, and you're the pastor. Okay, Daniel knows to be, we know Daniel is the security guy.
Mhm.
We understand that he's a little concerned. Joey's Joey, he's fine. However, if I bring women's leader that Joey's wife goes there because she, prays with him. And if I bring the kids ministry, the leader there
Mhm.
because Joey's kids go there. And I bring the men's ministry leader and I bring all these people to the pastor, to you, and I said, okay, this is what I noticed. But I also have these people who have noticed that Joey's kids are dressed the same way and they stink. We haven't seen his wife in 3 weeks.
Oh.
She hasn't come to Bible study. And all does that paint a different picture for you than the first one?
I think it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
those are the things we're trying to change the perspective. Never going to change until we have the leadership commitment that they are going to take prevention as a real thing. And right now, there's not a whole lot of companies that do it. They say they want to.
Right.
They say they care about their employees. Oh, we have an 800 number that you can call for tips. Is the pastor from outside the company can call for that tip? Because that's who's going to see the signs
Right.
way before you will.
Right. Yeah.
That's who's going to give you context to what you're seeing at work. If Joey is being rude to employees and coworkers and everything else, you didn't have the conversation the pastor had with him, and there's no communication with the outside. So you're missing resources.
Yeah.
So you're missing the dots. You don't collect the right ones. So those are the things that kind of got me and got me to think. And I started researching all that, listened to the people who are, big names in this industry and this, niche. And I've noticed that there's big gaps. I mean, we talk the talk, and we have the law enforcement background that, are the leaders of security.
Right.
And they're reactive in nature. That's all the lens they see that. And we need to understand this from a different. Now, when I say all these things, we got to understand again, let's put this in perspective. Grew up in Israel. I knew it all. I had a very, very different outlook on life. I thought that I'm always right. I don't know why, but I always thought I was right because I was young. And I had to change all of that to be able to come up with, well, are you really seeing that from the correct angle of the person who is going through this? And if you can't, find somebody that can.
Well, yeah.
So those are the things that are, I'm not judging anybody. I'm coming from I have been there. I have seen this. I know what it means to be blinded by ego or fear or whatever that is, your lens that you've been serving under for 30 years
Right.
as a cop, okay? And leading everything else through the same lens. You have to be open to get some other input.
Good point. Good advice, too. So tell people about your book.
So after researching all that information, ChatGPT and I met one day, and it recommended that I would write a book. And I said, never. I can't write English that well. I don't even speak English that well. So, I can't do that. And through a bunch of back and forth and talking to my wife and talking to Bill and talking to a lot of people, like, well, that's a really good missing book. There's not a whole lot of books about that part.
Mm-hmm.
So The Space Before Crisis was born. And when we talk about the space before crisis, is this. It's the space where decisions and impact and trajectory can change. Because after that, it's reaction time.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it physiologically. If I'm already in a crisis, am I going to be listening to anybody talking to me? Is escalation's going to, or de-escalation's going to work?
No.
Very, very rare. But if I can catch it in the early stages
Mm-hmm.
of this by paying attention, can I take you for a cup of coffee and say, hey, what's going on in life?
Yep.
I'm not butting in. I'm concerned. I care. And that's what we're talking about.
Sometimes that's all it takes, right?
Usually that's what it takes. There's stories upon stories upon stories of people who did not make it as active shooters
Mm-hmm.
because somebody was smart enough to be paying attention and take them for a cup of coffee and get them the right resources afterwards. And sometimes just a cup of coffee is enough because we care, because we pay attention. It's because we forgot how to be human and we're moving away from that more and more. And the more we go back to it, the more we will stop.
And chances are, when it comes to things like active shooters, I'm sure there was a cry for help long before the activity ever happened.
Always
right?
is.
Yeah. So it's good to try to recognize that. And
again, I understand, grew up, in Israel. I have different senses. Also going through trauma. I have different senses because trauma teaches you. Trauma is the best, So things you call trauma and hurdles and issues that you're struggling with are actually the things that'll bring you the most important skills if you choose to
listen
practice them a little bit more look at them a little differently. We call them a blessing. A blessing and a lesson.
Yeah, there you go. So where can people find your book? You're on Amazon?
So we're on Amazon. I'll give you the link as well below here.
Yeah, watch out.
But the simple website that I created for that is www.thespacebeforecrisis.com, and all the information on there. You can also have an audio summary of that book on there as well. So give you a little bit of a background on what we're talking about.
Awesome. Well, go check it out. We'll put a link here below in the description so people can go right to the link and buy your book. I think it's definitely worth the read. Sure.
It's going to change your mind. It's not all fluffy and lovey-dovey. It's actually talking about the invisible invoice that comes after every missed case of a crisis. So if you missed a crisis and it actually happened, there's an invoice that comes afterwards. And most people don't realize what it cost them to have an incident.
Yeah. I've
It costs a
experienced
lot
that
more.
in my career too. I've seen it. Yeah, for sure. So where could people reach out to you if they have some questions for you, seek advice?
So the website is short and sweet, HTTPS, and it's azssa.com. And then for information, it's Daniel@azssa.com. And, the Shift podcast. Follow us on Shift Podcast, which is really important there. We need your support. Bill and I want to do more. Want to bring the industry a lot more information and bring people in. So if they can go out there and support us and sign up and follow us, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so you can find them on YouTube and LinkedIn currently. And make sure you go like, share, and subscribe. You're going to be on other platforms as well coming up.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yes, working on it. And then just another shameless plug on that one. GSX 2026. I'll be speaking on the exact same thing of the book, the same topic of the book. Why most security programs start too late. It's going to be September 14th from 10 to 11. So come see me. And if you happen to have the book with you, I'll make sure that I'll autograph it for you. And again, willing to have a conversation, willing to listen, and definitely talk about prevention.
I'm going to have to get your book before the show. I want an autograph from you. So, well, Daniel, I thank you for your time today. I think everybody learned a lot about you, and I wish you good luck in your adventures, and obviously good luck with the podcast. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I
appreciate it.
Live stream your next event, festival, wedding, band performance, church service, or corporate event, RCJ Media has you covered. Please visit our website at www.rcjmediaco.com or email us at info@rcjproduction.com. RCJ Media, a division of RCJ Productions, has you covered.